Stop! Don't you dare hit her. That's your mother. The voice sliced through the heavy Atlanta heat. Logan Pierce froze mid-swing, billionaire founder of NovaBright, hand raised over a frail black woman. Minutes earlier, he'd stormed from a grueling board meeting, nerves frayed by an impending acquisition. The woman had appeared from nowhere, wrapped in patched blue layers, leathered skin, hollow, starving eyes. She'd tapped his tinted window, then shuffled after him toward the supermarket doors, mumbling words he ignored. When she clutched his sleeve and begged, "Just some bread, sir," rage flared hotter than the asphalt. His arm lifted on instinct. Then that command rang out. He turned. A young black woman in a faded gray maid's uniform stood between them, slim shoulders squared, eyes unwavering. Logan's shock curdled into fury. "What did you just say?" he snapped. "She's your mother," the maid repeated, softer but firm. Shoppers outside the Buckhead grocery store gasped, phones lifting like a firing squad. "Are you out of your mind?" Logan barked. "You can't just invent things about me. I'm not making anything up," she insisted. "You just have to look." He loomed over her, temper detonating. Whispers rippled through the crowd. "That girl's always stirring drama. Probably chasing a payout." Logan jabbed a finger at her. "You think this is cute? Some scam? A stunt for attention?" "No, sir, I'm trying to—" "Shut up!" he roared. The old woman clutched at his pant leg, whispering, "Son, bread, please." He jerked away, like she'd burned him. "She's delusional. You're exploiting her." The maid, Naomi Jones, stepped closer, despite trembling. "Please, just let me show you." Logan's control finally snapped. His palm cracked across her face, echoing through the parking lot. She staggered, lip splitting, phones recording everything. Some bystanders still sneered at her. "That's what liars get. She pushed him first." Naomi touched her bleeding cheek, eyes watering, but steady. "Please," she whispered, "look at her wrist." "Security!" Logan shouted. Two guards hurried over, torn between employer and conscience. Naomi pointed at the elderly woman. "She has a birthmark on her right wrist, same shape as yours." Logan's jaw flexed, muscle twitching. "I'm done entertaining this." "Yes, you're not," Naomi replied quietly. "She's been calling you my son since you stepped out of that car." The old woman nodded, tears streaking dirt. "My boy," she rasped. "My Logan." The world tilted. "Show her wrist," Naomi urged. The guards gently rolled up the woman's tattered sleeve. A dark, comma-shaped mark sat there. Gasps rose. All eyes swung to Logan. "Now, show yours," someone shouted. Under the pressure of strangers' stares, Logan yanked back his cuff. The same small mark stained his wrist. His mouth opened, but nothing came. Naomi stepped closer, voice gentler. "I told you, she's your mother." The old woman reached again. This time, Logan did not move. Her shaking palm cupped his face. "My son," she breathed. "I searched every crowd, every sunrise, praying you were still breathing." Logan's knees buckled, dropping onto blistering concrete. His chest heaved, hand clutching his heart. "I almost hit you. God, I hit her." He glanced at Naomi, shame flooding him. "She needs help," Naomi insisted. The old woman suddenly sagged, eyes rolling back. Naomi caught her slight frame. "She's fainting. We have to move." "Car, now!" Logan barked at his driver. Security cleared a path as he lifted the woman carefully. Onlookers stared, uneasy, embarrassed. filming anyway. Naomi limped beside them, palm on her swollen cheek. Before climbing into the SUV, Logan looked at her differently. "You're coming too," he said quietly, fear edging his voice. The doors slammed. The vehicle shot forward, carrying a haunted billionaire, a battered housekeeper, and the mother Logan believed buried 15 years earlier. Their lives had just crossed a line they could never recross. The SUV's interior was cool, almost sterile. His mother lay limp across his lap, breaths thin and ragged. Her skin looked translucent under tinted light. Naomi sat opposite, clutching a napkin to her bleeding mouth. Logan couldn't meet her eyes. Every glance replayed his hand striking her, his rage eclipsing reason. "Hospital," the driver called. "Nearest trauma center," Logan answered hoarsely. He looked down at the frail woman he'd almost assaulted. Her gray head rested on his shoulder, breath rattling. Her papery fingers clung to his shirt like a frightened child. "Mama," he whispered hesitantly. Her eyelids fluttered. He turned to Naomi. "How'd you know about the birthmark?" "I saw it on her wrist," Naomi said softly. "And I remembered seeing one just like it on yours in a magazine years ago." "So you guessed she was my mother." "It wasn't only that. It was her eyes," Naomi continued. "The way she looked at you, like you're someone she's chased her whole life. She said your name before you spoke. She didn't just beg. She called you my son." Logan finally truly looked at her. "You stood in front of me," he murmured. "You got hurt for her." Naomi shrugged carefully. "She was about to be hurt worse." "I hit you," he whispered. "I've taken worse," she answered. "That doesn't excuse anything," he said. Outside, Atlanta blurred by. Billboards, trees, red lights. "She vanished 15 years ago," Logan muttered. "We hired police, private investigators. She was just gone. I mourned a ghost." "Maybe she wasn't meant to be found until now," Naomi replied quietly. The SUV screeched into Piedmont Atlanta Hospital's emergency bay. Nurses rushed forward with a gurney. "She's not breathing right," Logan yelled, carrying his mother out. They transferred her swiftly, oxygen masks and monitors appearing like magic. Inside the trauma unit, controlled chaos erupted. Vitals barked. IV lines threading, machines chiming. Logan hovered beside the bed, utterly helpless, billionaire power useless against failing lungs. "Sir, we need space," a nurse urged, nudging him aside. "I'm not leaving her again," he snapped. Naomi appeared, placing a gentle hand on his arm. "Let them work," she said. "She needs medicine, not panic." He sagged back, watching through the glass, fists clenched. Naomi sat on a stiff plastic bench, fluorescent light sharpening every bruise on her face. Her hands shook as she folded them, but her eyes stayed fiercely composed. "I'm sorry," Logan said, finally. "I know," she answered, without looking up. "I saw red. I didn't even see you as human. That isn't who I want to be." "You were defending yourself terribly," she replied. A tall doctor stepped out, stripping off gloves. "Is she okay?" Logan demanded. "She's stable," the doctor said, "but severely malnourished, dehydrated, injured. Her wrists show old marks, likely restraints. This wasn't simple homelessness. This was long-term captivity." The words shredded Logan's composure. "We searched everywhere. How could someone cage my mother for 15 years? Naomi met his gaze. "Someone determined to keep her hidden." He swallowed fury. "Then we find whoever did it. What if the truth hurts worse than ignorance?" she asked. "I don't care," he answered. I buried an empty coffin. I'll trade comfort for answers." A nurse approached, holding a wrapped cloth bundle. Inside lay a single rusted chain link, heavy and ugly despite its size. "She kept it," Naomi whispered. "All this time as proof." Logan stared. "Then this isn't finished." They stepped back into the trauma ward's antiseptic chill. Nurses maneuvered around his mother, now identified as Lila Pierce, adjusting drips and monitors. Logan stood stiff at the rail, terrified she'd vanish if he blinked too long. The heart monitor's uneven beeps cut through him. A nurse lifted Lila's fragile wrist to attach an ID band, frowning at faint circular bruises around bone. "She was restrained," the nurse murmured. Logan's knuckles whitened. "Restrained? By who? Why my mother?" The doctor stepped closer, voice gentler. "Whatever she endured, it lasted years. Malnutrition, repeated injuries, infection. This wasn't drifting on the streets. This was deliberate confinement." Logan reeled. "We looked everywhere." How did nobody see? Naomi moved nearer, despite her own pain. "Someone made sure she stayed invisible," she said quietly. "I hurt you," Logan murmured, "and you're still here helping me." "You were furious," she replied. "I've seen worse from men with less reason." "That doesn't make it right," he said. "Maybe not," she replied, "but right now your mother needs you focused, not drowning in guilt." He nodded stiffly, forcing his breathing to steady as a nurse beckoned them inside. Lila lay beneath a thin blanket, face waxy against the pillow. Tubes trailed everywhere, making her seem smaller than memory. Logan approached slowly, each step loaded with 15 years of grief. He took her hand, startled by its weightlessness. "Mama," he whispered, voice cracking. "Can you hear me?" Her eyelids fluttered. Naomi stood at the foot of the bed, fingers intertwined, silently begging the older woman to wake. "It's me, Logan. I'm here. I'm not losing you again." Her lips trembled. "My boy," she rasped. Logan folded over, pressing her hand to his forehead. "I'm so sorry. We buried an empty box. I thought you were gone. I didn't know you were suffering." Her hand brushed his cheek weakly. "No, my son, you're here now." A coughing fit shook her fragile frame. Nurses hurried in. Logan backed away, terrified his presence might somehow harm her. "We must keep her calm," the doctor said. "Her heart's extremely weak." Lila's gaze drifted toward Naomi. "You!" she whispered. Naomi stepped closer. "Yes, ma'am, I'm right here. You stopped him from sin." Naomi swallowed hard. "I just wanted to protect you." A faint smile broke through Lila's lined face. "God sent you." Logan blinked away tears. "He did," he murmured, voice shaking. "Even when I didn't deserve mercy." Lila's eyes moved to the chain link resting on the bedside table. Her features darkened. She reached for it, fingers trembling. Naomi placed it gently in her palm. "Mama, what is that? Why keep it?" "Proof," she whispered. "Proof of the man who took me." The room went deathly quiet. Naomi froze. Logan straightened, spine chilled. "Someone took you," he repeated. "Who, Mama?" Her eyes overflowed with tangled terror and memory. "Someone close," she breathed, but the effort drained her. Her eyes rolled shut, hand slipping from his. Alarms shrieked. Nurses rushed in again. "She's fading," one shouted. Logan lunged, panicked. "Sir, please step back," a nurse insisted, blocking him. Naomi grabbed his arm. "Let them help her," she said firmly. She'll fight her way back. She's stronger than she looks." He choked on a sob. "She can't leave again," he whispered. "She just came home." Naomi steadied him, though her knees shook. "Hope isn't gentle, Logan," she said softly. "It hurts like hell before it heals." "Why are you still here?" "Because your mother deserves someone present who won't lose their head," Naomi answered. "And right now, that isn't you." He swallowed, hearing truth instead of accusation. Time crawled. Finally, the doctor emerged again, looking tired but relieved. "She's stable," he said, "but she needs rest. You both need water and a seat." Naomi exhaled shakily, guiding Logan toward the waiting chairs. He collapsed into one, burying his face in his hands. "I have to know," he murmured. "Who took her? Who kept her hidden? Someone close. That means betrayal." Naomi studied the darkening bruise on her cheek. "We'll find out," she said, "but not with rage, with truth." He looked at her, really seeing her, a bleeding, exhausted woman half his size, somehow stronger than his entire portfolio. "Thank you," he said quietly. "We're not finished," she replied. Her soft voice carried the weight of a promise. Night settled over the hospital, hallway lights fading to muted gold. The trauma unit's frantic pace softened into humming machines, squeaking souls, murmured conversations. For Logan, everything narrowed to the window facing his mother's room. He stood there, forehead nearly touching glass, hands pressed flat as if holding himself up. Exhaustion sank into his bones, fear soaked, guilt heavy, 15 years deep. Behind him, Naomi approached quietly with 2 lukewarm coffees. "You should drink something," she said. "I'm fine," he lied. "People who are fine don't shake like that." He glanced down. His hands trembled. She offered a cup. He took it, barely sipping. Through the glass, Lila looked calmer. Nurses had dimmed lights. She lay on her side. Oxygen tubing curved beneath her nose. Her chest rose shallowly but rhythmically. "She looks so breakable," Logan whispered. "Breakable isn't the same as weak," Naomi replied. "Look at what she survived." A ghost of a smile tugged his mouth. "You saved her," he murmured. "No," Naomi said. "I just stopped you from hurting her." "That's not nothing," he said. "If you hadn't stepped in, insisted." "I spoke up because I saw something," she answered. "Not only the birthmark, your faces. They carried the same story, begging someone to name it." He studied her bruised cheek, guilt surging again. "And I hit you for it. You hit out of fear and anger," she replied. "Cornered, people make terrible choices. That's explanation, not justification." He exhaled slowly, somewhere between surrender and resolve. "I still don't understand how she lived," he admitted. "If she was taken, hurt, how did she keep going?" "She believed she'd see you again," Naomi said. "Some folks survive on hope longer than food or shelter." He turned toward her. "How do you know things like that?" "Pain's a teacher," she said simply. Just then, the far door creaked open. An older black janitor pushed in a mop bucket, moving with weary familiarity. He rolled the bucket toward them, pausing near Lila's window. "You're her boy, aren't you?" he asked softly. Logan stiffened. "Do we know each other?" The man shook his head. "No, sir, but I knew her." Naomi stepped closer. "How?" He scanned the hallway carefully. "Not here," he muttered. "Walls have ears." Logan frowned. Why would anyone be listening? The janitor's gaze hardened. "Because your mama wasn't merely lost, she was taken." Cold creeped up Logan's spine. Taken by who? By someone in your own bloodline, the man whispered. Naomi gasped softly. Logan's world lurched. My family. You think I'm crazy? No, sir, the janitor said. I worked at the Pierce estate up in North Georgia before your father passed. Logan's breath punched out. Who are you? Name's Harold, he replied, offering a trembling hand. I kept quiet when things turned ugly, until tonight. I saw the news, Harold said, nodding toward the hallway television. Watched you carrying that woman in. I knew it was her. Logan gripped his arm. Tell me who did this. Harold hesitated, scanning corners again. I'll only say it once, he whispered. Your mama found out the truth about your daddy's will, who really inherited NovaBright and who didn't. Somebody stood to lose everything if she spoke. Naomi's voice shook. Who, Harold? He swallowed. Your uncle, Gerald Pierce. Silence followed, heavy as concrete. Something inside Logan shattered and reformed into ice. My uncle, he echoed, the man who co-runs my company. Harold nodded sadly. He feared your mama would expose him, so he had her removed. Logan staggered back. Naomi reached, steadying him. Memories collided, empty casket, pointless searches, inheritance arguments that rusted chain link. It all fits, Logan whispered. How long have you known? Since she disappeared, Harold answered. But your uncle paid folks to stay quiet. Some took money. Most were scared. I've carried this guilt 15 years. Why talk now? Logan asked. Harold looked toward Lila's door, then at Naomi. Because she lived, he said. Because she crawled back into the light. Truth doesn't stay buried forever, Naomi murmured. Justice isn't always fair, she added softly, but it's patient. Logan's voice roughened. I'll make him pay. Naomi grabbed his sleeve. No, you'll uncover everything. Then seek justice in that order. His fury cooled into focus. Be careful, Mr. Pierce, Harold warned. Your uncle's powerful, well-connected. If he learns your mama survived, he'll finish what he started. Logan swallowed the warning like poison. She's not dying again, he said. Not on his terms. Naomi nodded. Then we stand together. We start with what she tried to tell you before blacking out. Logan frowned. What? Naomi repeated Lila's earlier whispered word, the one that clung like prophecy. Beware, she said quietly. Logan turned back to the window, watching his mother's frail silhouette. The truth ahead wasn't just a mystery anymore. It was a threat, moving toward them like a storm he refused to outrun. Dawn crept into the hospital, soft and relentless. Pale pink light slid across linoleum, past sleeping figures in slouched chairs. Cold coffee sat abandoned. Machines hummed and beeped, a soundtrack to anxiety and exhaustion. Logan slumped in a vinyl chair by Lila's door, head cradled in his hands. Harold's words looped endlessly. Your uncle had her removed. Betrayal burrowed deeper with every breath. He'd idolized Gerald, shadowed him in boardrooms, dinners, family functions, never suspecting the man was burying secrets alongside empty coffins. Through the glass, Lila stirred. A nurse leaned in, checking monitors, adjusting her oxygen line. She's waking, the nurse said gently, opening the door. One at a time. Logan shot to his feet. Naomi rose too, but gestured toward the room. Go. She needs her son first, she said. He entered the dim room, heart pounding. Lila's eyes opened slowly, cloudy but sharpening when they landed on his face. "Logan," she breathed. "Mama," he whispered, dropping to one knee. "You're awake. You came back." A faint smile touched her lips. "I dreamed my boy grew into a man," she said. He tried to laugh, but emotion broke the sound. "You did, but I left pieces of myself behind." She brushed his jaw with fragile fingers. "You're here now. That's enough." He hesitated, then murmured, "Mama, what happened? You don't have to tell me everything, but I need to understand." Her gaze drifted toward the window. 15 years ago, she began, I was coming home from the farmer's market. Sunday morning. Air smelled like peaches. Logan's throat tightened. I just stepped off the bus, clutching your father's legal papers. There were things in his will your uncle didn't want anybody seeing, she continued. Your daddy left NovaBright entirely in your name, held in trust until you turned 27. Logan flinched. That's not what Gerald told me. I argued with him, Lila said. Told him I'd honor your father's wishes. I never got the chance. A car rolled alongside me. 2 men jumped out, grabbed me, blindfolded me before I could scream. They shoved me in the back seat. I begged, told them you'd be searching, but they didn't care, she whispered. They drove me to some big lonely house in the hills, maybe outside Savannah. Basement. No windows. There was just a stained mattress, a bolt on the outside, she said, voice quivering. They fed me once a day, sometimes skipped. Weeks blurred into months. I kept telling them my son would come. What did they say? Logan asked, barely breathing. They told me you'd been told I died in a wreck, that you'd buried my coffin already, she whispered. Eventually, I almost believed it, that I was dead, but my body won't quit. One guard, older, started drinking heavy, she continued. One night he let me shuffle to the kitchen. I saw sunrise through a cracked window. Hope stabbed me, but I was too weak to run. A while later I heard a crash, she said. He'd fallen downstairs, broke his neck. He never came back. Nobody did. You escaped? Logan asked. I crawled out eventually, she answered. I don't know how far I walked. After a while, nobody called me by name. I became another ragged woman on sidewalks, she said. He smoothed her tangled hair gently. Why not tell the police? Would they believe a half-mad woman in rags claiming to be Logan Pierce's mother? She asked sadly. I kept that piece of chain from the bolt, wrapped it in cloth, needed proof I existed. You don't need that anymore, he whispered. I'm here. I believe you. She smiled weakly, wincing at the effort. I thought the world would change you into someone I wouldn't recognize, she admitted. I almost became that man, he confessed, but someone stopped me. A woman named Naomi. Lila's eyes warmed. The maid? She asked. Yes, Logan said. She's got this stubborn light in her. Don't let that light go out, Lila murmured. They sat in silence, fingers entwined, then her expression darkened. There's more, she whispered. Your uncle was careful but prideful. He thought nobody would trace anything back. Then we will, Logan said. We'll expose him. Her hand squeezed his weakly. Do it with honor, not hatred, she urged. He blinked away, tears. I'll try, he promised. A soft knock sounded. Naomi stepped in, eyes flicking between them. She's awake, she said, relief in her voice. My angel, Lila whispered. Logan glanced at Naomi. She told me everything, he said. Then the real work starts. Naomi replied. Logan looked at them, his mother, his unexpected defender, and something in him settled. "Yes," he said, "we'll do it together." The next morning arrived brutally fast. Logan stood before his penthouse mirror, his reflection both familiar and strange. The shadows beneath his eyes weren't from late-night parties, but from revelation. Mother alive, uncle a betrayer, himself willfully blind. He adjusted his cufflinks. Silver ones his mother had given him for his 32nd birthday, pieces he'd hidden since her death. Today, he wore them like armor. In the living room, Naomi perched on the couch, exhausted. She'd refused the guest room, instead spending the night hunched over his laptop, combing through public records on Gerald and the family's finances. When Logan stepped out, she eyed his tailored suit. "You look battle-ready," she said. "I am," he replied. "I'm going to the board. I'll look Gerald in the eye and act like I know nothing." "Why pretend?" she asked. "Because if he senses anything, he'll erase everything. He'll move money, bury evidence, maybe come after her again," Logan added. Naomi folded her arms. "Then you'd better be an excellent liar." He gave a thin smile. "I've been performing since I was 14. "And if he suspects the truth already?" she pressed. "Then I remind him whose company this actually is," Logan answered. "Be careful," Naomi murmured. "I will," he said, though safety felt impossible now. NovaBright's headquarters glimmered over downtown Atlanta like a glass cathedral. Inside, the boardroom buzzed with murmured financial reports and espresso. 12 directors chatted around the polished table. At the far end sat Gerald Pierce. Silver hair, navy suit, eyes like knives. He'd aged gracefully but cruelly. His grip still crushed hands. His voice still commanded rooms. Logan entered wearing the relaxed smile of a man with nothing to hide. "Morning," he said, tossing his folder. Casually. "Logan," Gerald boomed, standing with an exaggerated grin. "We thought you were taking leave." "I was," Logan replied, taking his seat. "Just needed to see how the machine's running." "Everything all right?" Gerald asked smoothly. "Peachy," Logan said, dryly. The meeting rolled along. Profits, partnerships, projections. All the while, he watched Gerald, noting every flicker when certain dates or assets were mentioned. Finally, Logan spun a pen lazily. "I'm thinking it's time for a review," he announced. "A deep one." Gerald's brow ticked upward. "A review of what exactly?" "Board records from 15 years ago," Logan replied. Silence tightened the room. "That's ancient history," Gerald said slowly. "Exactly why it needs fresh eyes," Logan countered. "Those years shaped our foundation. Contracts, property transfers, family trusts." Gerald's smile slipped for a heartbeat. "That was when your father died," he said, feeling sentimental. "Call it responsible governance," Logan replied. "I'll personally oversee it this time. No outside auditors. I want eyes on every file, especially anything tied to family-held assets." The AIR in the room cooled noticeably. "I trust you know what you're doing," Gerald said, finally. "I always do," Logan answered, meeting his uncle's gaze. Neither blinked. Back at the hospital, Naomi spooned warm broth to Lila, careful with each trembling sip. Lila's voice had strengthened slightly. "You stayed all night?" she asked. "I don't abandon people halfway," Naomi answered softly. "You remind me of my sister," Lila whispered. "Same stubborn grace, always helping strangers first." Naomi smiled faintly. Must be something in the sisterhood. Lila squeezed her hand. He's walking into danger, she murmured. He knows, Naomi replied. Does he really understand what Gerald will do? He's beginning to, Naomi said. Lila's grip tightened. Don't let him fight alone. Promise me. I won't, Naomi answered. I'll be his shadow if I have to. Lila sighed, eyes heavy. There are pieces I haven't told him yet, she confessed. Memories returning in fragments. He has to be ready first. I'll help him get there, Naomi promised. That night, Logan returned, face drawn, eyes like stone. Well? Naomi asked. I saw it in his eyes, Logan said. He knows something's off. Now I'm certain. Gerald orchestrated everything. What's next? We crack open old records, follow the paper scars. And when we do, we go straight to the police, Naomi said. Not yet, Logan replied. Why not? Because I want him to feel destitute before courtrooms get involved, Logan said, voice coldly burning. Naomi didn't argue. She simply stood beside him, shoulders squared toward coming storms. 2 days later, the North Georgia estate baked under a punishing sun. Once the pride of the Pierce family, it now sagged with disuse. Rust chewed at the iron gates, though the head-shaped lions still stood guard. Inside, air smelled of dust and old money. Logan believed answers hid here, in files never meant to see daylight. He and Naomi climbed from the SUV, gravel crunching beneath their shoes. A locksmith followed, already working at a locked side entrance. Haven't been here since I was 19, Logan murmured. Feels like secrets live in walls, Naomi said. Or behind doors nobody opens, he replied. They wandered, echoing halls, past faded portraits and silent chandeliers. Dust clung to everything like guilt. They started in the study, mahogany shelves, heavy desk, untouched liquor, and a locked filing cabinet. Logan handed the locksmith a ring of keys from corporate archives. Try these. Naomi drifted to the desk, fingers tracing dust. Inside a drawer, she found letters, memos bearing the Pierce crest, and a small leather journal labeled RGP Personal. You'll want this, she said. Logan opened it, recognizing Gerald's angular handwriting. He skimmed entries. Trustee, meeting moved. Logan's still too young for full control. Lila asks too many questions. Digging through estate documents. Contact established. Silence must be secured. Logan's jaw tightened. He documented everything like nobody would dare read it, he growled. Naomi leaned over his shoulder. He didn't hide it. He celebrated it. Metal clanged. The locksmith popped the cabinet's last drawer. Inside lay folders labeled Inheritance, Trust Transfer, Asset Shift, Estate Custody. Logan opened Inheritance. A will, his father's, stared back. Not the version he'd heard at 20. This one named Logan sole heir, with Lila as trustee until 27. The version I saw gave Gerald control until further notice, Logan whispered. So he buried the real will, rewrote history, and probably bribed help, Naomi said. Can you prove it? Logan dug deeper, pulling a notarized letter with an unfamiliar signature. This contradicts every copy we hold at headquarters, he said. Naomi sifted another folder and froze. These bank transfers, look at the dates, she said. Large sums flowed into shell companies and offshore accounts soon after Lila vanished. And here, she added, pointing, payments labeled consultation fees. That's code, Logan muttered. Money for whoever helped abduct her. Initials dotted the page, DH, ML, SG. We identify these people, we map the conspiracy. And if those transfers match her disappearance, we take this to law enforcement, Naomi said. No, Logan answered, voice steel. She blinked. We take it to the press first. They buried her alive. The world deserves her story. That kind of exposure brings danger, Naomi warned. I'm done living afraid, Logan replied. Back in Atlanta, Gerald sipped bourbon in a luxury hotel suite, city lights glittering beneath him. His phone buzzed. He answered curtly. There's activity at the North Georgia property, a voice reported. Logan's people opened the study. Gerald stared at his own reflection. Shut down whatever's left, he ordered, and find out who's helping him dig. He ended the call, smirking at his mirrored image. Let the boy rummage, he muttered. Let's see if he survives what he uncovers. That night, Logan and Naomi sat in his office. Papers everywhere. So what now? Naomi asked. Logan stared at the will, then the ledgers, then his phone. We call a journalist, he said. Someone the Pierces can't threaten or buy. Maya Kincaid's name flashed in his mind. Later, alone, he dialed. Maya, a Pulitzer-nominated reporter once smeared, then vindicated. Now wrote for an independent outlet called The Beacon. She answered with a gravelly, suspicious voice. This better be life or death. It might be, Logan said. This is Logan Pierce. Silence, then a low whistle. Didn't expect that name. You've got 30 seconds before I hang up. My mother's alive, he said. You buried her 15 years ago, she replied. I buried a closed casket, Logan said. We were lied to. She was abducted by family. I've got proof. Maya didn't speak at first. And you're calling me instead of a prosecutor because, she asked. Because you don't owe my family anything, he answered. And when pressure comes, you don't fold. Another pause. Meet me tomorrow, she said finally. Southbound coffee back patio, 8 a.m. No lawyer, no bodyguard. If I see a suit with a briefcase, I walk. I'll be there, Logan promised. Southbound coffee sat tucked near Grant Park, ivy-draped and unassuming. Logan arrived early. Maya was already outside, black coffee in hand, sunglasses on, charcoal coat flapping. You look younger on television, she said. You sound taller in print, he countered. She smirked. Sit. For 10 minutes, he spilled everything. Altered will, missing years, Lila's return, Gerald's financial trail, Naomi's courage. He slid copies of ledgers, journal entries, notarized documents, shell company lists across the table. Maya's expression barely shifted. Either you're honest, she said, or this is the most elaborate revenge fantasy since Greek tragedy. I've got more. Recorded statements from my mother, ongoing financial verification, Logan replied. Why now? Why me? I don't trust the system Gerald's bought, Logan said. And if something happens to me, Naomi, or my mother, I want everything already in your hands. Maya studied him over her cup. You're not scared anymore. No, he said. I'm furious. Good, she replied. You came to the right woman. She scooped up the documents. I'll start cross-checking today, but I'll need deeper access. Emails, board memos, internal files. You'll have it, Logan said. I'll send credentials by afternoon. Maya stood. One more thing. Once this story's out, you can't stuff it back into a box. I don't want a box, he said. I want flames. That afternoon, Naomi braided Lila's hair gently in the hospital room. Strength trickled back into the older woman, voice clearer, memory sharper. "I heard him on the phone," Lila said suddenly. "Your uncle, the day before they took me. He was furious, talking to someone named Gaines, or Granger," she recalled. "If she opens her mouth, we lose the whole estate," he said. "That's when I knew I was running out of time." "You made it back," Naomi said. "That's what matters. You believed me when no one else did," Lila whispered. "You made him believe, too." That night, Maya's first draft hit Logan's inbox like a lightning strike. The billionaire's mother. A life buried alive by greed. The headline knifed through him. She named Gerald, documented everything, honored Naomi and Lila. When it published, Gerald's PR firm scrambled out a denial. Logan read it, smiling coldly. "They're watching us too," Naomi said quietly. That woman in the elevator wasn't bluffing. She knew exactly what she was doing. Logan exhaled. "Then let's change the show." He opened a desktop folder labeled Phase 2. Inside, 3 video files. The first showed Lila, 2 days earlier, describing Gerald's assistant threatening her before she disappeared 15 years ago. The second clip captured Logan reading the original will aloud, time-stamped and notarized, outlining his rightful control. The third was different. Naomi, bruised but composed, narrating the night Logan struck her. In that video, she calmly explained why she stayed anyway, because the truth mattered more than her fear. "This goes out next," Logan said. "They'll never expect us to weaponize our scars." Naomi held his gaze, unflinching. "Good," she replied. "Let us bleed first. They can chase us instead of cornering her." Across town, Gerald sat underground in a private security firm's war room. Monitors showed news panels, opinion shows, furious streams dissecting the scandal. One phrase kept repeating, "Justice doesn't care who signs the paycheck." Gerald killed the screen and turned to his security liaison. "Find out exactly where they're keeping Lila," he ordered. "Then arrange to move her, quietly." The man hesitated. "You want her eliminated?" Gerald's eyes narrowed. "I want her somewhere unreachable. There's a difference." "That'll be difficult," the liaison murmured. Gerald's smile went razor sharp. "So is breathing with cracked ribs. Make it happen." That evening, Logan and Naomi arrived for their nightly visit and found Lila's room empty. No patient, no nurses, just a stripped bed and dark monitor. Logan spun toward the hallway, voice breaking. "Where is she?" Naomi sprinted to the nurse's station. "Lila Pierce, room 417. Where'd she go?" The nurse checked the chart, frowning. "She was discharged." Naomi's stomach dropped. "By who?" "Her son," the nurse answered. Logan's face went bloodless. "I am her son." The nurse went pale. Naomi whispered, "They've moved her." The antiseptic air turned suffocating. Logan stood frozen, fists clenched so tight his knuckles blanched. The words kept detonating in his head. "Discharged by her son." Naomi squeezed his arm. "Logan, we move now." He blinked, eyes wild. "Security footage. We need every second from the last 6 hours. Paperwork, signatures, anything." They barreled toward administration, shoving past startled staff until they reached hospital security. Logan slammed his hand on the desk. "Play all video from room 417, last 6 hours. The guard hesitated, then recognized him and swallowed. "Yes, sir." On screen, Lila slept peacefully as monitors beeped steadily. At 1:43 p.m., a man in scrubs entered, moving with practiced ease, not rushing. He went straight to the IV line and calmly disconnected it. Logan leaned closer. Zoom on his badge. The zoom revealed the name. Dr. Lewis Carter, attending. Naomi frowned. There's no Dr. Carter on her team. They watched him lift Lila gently into a wheelchair, blanket tucked under her chin. No struggle, no alarm. She looked like she trusted him. Freeze, Logan ordered. Back up. Zoom on the wheelchair. Naomi squinted. There's a sticker, medical transport. The guard scribbled. SurePath Medical Transit, he read aloud. Never heard of them, Naomi muttered. Logan was already dialing. Call Maya, he told her. Tell her everything. I'll track this company. Someone ordered that van, logged a route, left a footprint. If they moved her off the books, she could be anywhere, Naomi whispered. Logan's jaw hardened. They made one mistake. They did it in daylight. Cameras watched the streets, even if nobody planned on it. Across town, Maya Kincaid read Naomi's frantic transcript, jaw tightening. Discharged by her son when he wasn't even present, she murmured. Transport request with no digital trail. That's not sloppy, that's deliberate. She tossed essentials into her bag. Digital recorder, backup phone, press ID, pepper spray, and a dented flask of cheap bourbon she called her war kit. Then she dialed Logan. Did she fight? No, he said, voice low. She probably thought he was legitimate, someone we trusted, maybe recognized the name. Then Gerald's rattled, Maya replied. He's escalating. We can't crawl into court now. He'll bury everything. So we skip the courthouse? Logan asked. We go louder, Maya answered. Back at NovaBright's office, Naomi sat cross-legged on the floor of Logan's study, buried in printouts, transport logs, Gerald's financials, personnel photos. She searched for a face, a name, a fracture in Richard's armor. Then she froze. Logan, she called. He was mid-call with a private investigator barking instructions. He turned. She held up a photo. A 5-year-old Gala shot in Savannah, Gerald surrounded by donors, and beside him, barely in frame, a man in a lab coat. Dr. Lewis Carter. Naomi read. Logan's eyes narrowed. That's the badge name. Not the same man, she said. She pulled up the hospital footage beside the gala photo. Different face, same identity tag. They used a dead doctor's name, she said. Carter died in 2019. So whoever rolled my mother out is wearing a stolen credential, Logan said. Who does he actually work for? Naomi tapped another file. Security firm of profiles. Here, Black Haven Security, Gerald's longtime private contractor. Most of their records are sealed, but their founder, Simon Voss, is an ex-Marine intel officer who owes Gerald serious favors. Logan stared at the name. Then Voss orchestrated the grab. He's our link. By 2 a.m., Logan and Naomi were barreling along a rural 2-lane road, guided by GPS pings pulled from highway cameras tracking the SurePath van. It had driven north into the foothills. Only a few options out this far, Naomi said, eyes on the glowing map. Old Pierce family retreats, abandoned warehouses, training compounds. Logan's knuckles whitened. He'll stash her somewhere nobody hears screaming. She isn't the same woman they locked away, Naomi replied. She survived 15 years in the dark. She'll hold on if we reach her. Logan glanced over. Only if we're not too late. In a concrete bunker tucked inside a forest clearing, Lila sat on a thin mattress. She remained calm, not because she felt safe, but because she recognized the pattern. captivity wasn't new. She traced the old burn scar around her wrist the first time they chained her. This time there were no irons, just men outside with guns and orders. She lifted her eyes to the camera. A faint smile tugged her mouth. "They still think I'm helpless," she whispered. She reached under the mattress, fingers closing around a metal fork she'd hidden. Not to stab, but to remember she could. Back in the city, Maya hit publish on part 2, the second disappearance of Lila Pierce. Subhead: "They buried her story once, now they're trying again." Phones buzzed. Screens lit across time zones. In Gerald's penthouse, crystal shattered against a wall. The footage of Lila being wheeled away, then rescued, looped on every channel. The world was watching, and everyone understood time had officially run out. Logan's SUV crawled onto a dirt track, hemmed by towering pines that swallowed moonlight. He watched the blinking GPS dot like it was a heartbeat. Naomi scanned the darkness ahead, flashlight resting in her lap. "We're close," she murmured. Conversation had thinned during the last stretch. Dread sat heavy between them. Lila's abduction hung like storm clouds, ready to break. Logan's jaw locked. Naomi had tied her hair back. They were both braced for disaster. The trees parted, revealing a grim facility of concrete walls and rusted razor wire fencing, a single floodlight buzzing over a gate. It didn't look official. It looked disposable. "There," Naomi said. "That has to be it." Logan killed the engine. They stepped out into dense quiet, the kind that made your heartbeat sound loud. No dogs, no visible guards, just humming electricity. They crouched low, counting cameras, one on the west corner, 2 flanking the entrance. "No patrols," Naomi whispered. "No vehicles either." Logan frowned. They wouldn't leave her unprotected, unless they think nobody could trace her. "Let's change that," he muttered. From a hidden compartment, he pulled a compact drone. It rose smoothly, gliding over the fence and through a cracked second-story window. On Logan's tablet, grainy corridors appeared. Peeling paint, flickering fluorescence, echoing emptiness. And on the lower level, a small room with a figure on a mattress. "There," Naomi said. "Room C5. Logan lowered the drone and grabbed a discreet radio. "Maya, you copy." Static, then her voice. "Loud and clear. I've got a sympathetic detective on standby, but without hard evidence, they're tied up." Logan replied, "We're about to collect something undeniable." "And Logan," Maya added, "this reeks of a trap." He met Naomi's eyes. She nodded. "Then we go in knowing it," he said. They scaled the fence, landing in crunching gravel, hugging the building's shadow. A half-pried window marked their entry point, probably where Lila had been shoved inside. They slipped through one at a time. Inside, mildew and machine oil filled their lungs. "Camera loops running," Logan whispered. 15 minutes. They padded down the hall, boots silent on cracked linoleum. Naomi's flashlight stayed low. Doors labeled C1, C2, C3 flicked past. A stairwell creaked. They flattened against the wall, hearts pounding. Footsteps approached. "Guard," Naomi mouthed. Logan signaled, "Let him pass." The steps receded, fading upstairs. They moved again, rounding a corner, C5. Logan placed his hand on the knob. "Mama," he breathed softly. Inside, Lila's head snapped up. "Logan," she croaked. He pushed the door open. Naomi rushed to drape a coat around her shoulders. "We're taking you home," she said. "Can you stand? I've walked worse." They helped her upright, but as they stepped into the hallway, the overhead lights flickered once, then cut out. Outside, the floodlights hummed louder. Men's voices echoed from the east wing, sharp, agitated, closing in. "They're here," Naomi whispered. Their eyes met. They both understood. This rescue was expected. Logan clipped a tiny body cam to his shirt, pressed record. "We keep moving," he said, "and we let the world watch." They hurried toward the exit route, half carrying Lila. Naomi's flashlight carved a narrow path. "C1, C2, she muttered, counting doors, windows just ahead. A barked command froze them. "Stop right there." Two men in tactical black blocked the corridor, one gripping a stun baton, the other reaching toward his holster. Logan stepped in front of Lila. "Touch her and this stream hits 4 platforms in minutes." He lifted the cam. "You're live," he said. "Your faces, your weapons, this illegal facility. You harm her, and I bury Gerald Pierce publicly with your names." The guards glanced at each other, rattled. "Stand down," one finally muttered. "Let them walk." The other listened to unseen instructions, jaw flexing, then slowly backed away. Both turned and disappeared into shadows. Logan didn't wait. He scooped Lila into his arms. They sprinted for the window. Seconds later, they were outside again, scrambling over the fence, breath clouding the cold air. Behind them, the compound returned to eerie stillness. But now it existed on permanent record. In the SUV, Lila cradled a thermos Naomi pressed into her hands. "Sip slowly," Naomi said. Lila's skin was washed out, but her smile held steel. "You came," she whispered. "You really came back." "This time, no one's burying you," Logan said, gripping the wheel. Naomi turned. "Maya's ready. Outlets are waiting on her word. We just needed your say-so." Logan met Lila's gaze in the mirror. "Release everything," he said. "No more half-truths, no more secrets." Naomi nodded. In the back seat, Lila whispered, "Let them chase us. I've been hiding long enough." Dawn hinted over Atlanta as Maya prepared. She stood on her office rooftop, windbreaker zipped against the December chill, bitter coffee in hand. The files were organized, footage secure. This was the moment she'd trained for, truth with teeth. She dialed her editor. "Drop the entire package," she said. "Front page, full banner, no softening for nervous attorneys." "You're certain?" they asked. Maya watched the brightening skyline. He tried to erase her, twice. He failed. By 8 a.m., headlines exploded. Lila Pierce rescued from illegal detention. Pierce family empire in freefall. Video ties Gerald Pierce to years of fraud and abuse. One caption added, "Former Maid helps unravel dynasty." The viral clip showed Naomi and Logan guiding Lila through decayed corridors past armed guards stepping aside. Audio captured Logan's steady warning and Lila's quiet declaration. "Let them come. I'm ready." Within an hour, the video passed 2 million views. By the next, it was global. At NovaBright's tower, panic had a physical sound. Phones ringing nonstop, PR teams drafting statements nobody believed. At 9:14 a.m., the board issued a rare public note. "We are appalled by emerging evidence. Effective immediately, Gerald Pierce is placed on administrative leave pending investigation." By 10:30, stock prices started to slide. By noon, federal investigators requested formal interviews. Gerald didn't answer. He didn't appear at headquarters. He issued no rebuttal because Gerald Pierce was already on the run. At the Pierce estate, tension buzzed differently. Reporters clustered outside the gates, camera trucks and protest signs held back by security. Inside, the mood was quieter, electric without panic. Lila sat in the sunroom beneath a blanket, watching birds mob new feeders. "I used to sit like this before they took me," she murmured. Pretending quiet meant safety, Naomi knelt beside her. "You're not pretending now," she said. Lila smiled. "No, baby, now I remember safety." Logan stepped in, carrying a tablet. "Every outlet wants interviews," he said. "Networks, podcasts, newspapers, they all want your version." Lila regarded him gently. "Then we don't just give them a story," she replied. "We give them a warning that monsters don't always snarl. Sometimes they sign checks and kiss cheeks." Naomi squeezed her hand. "We heard you," she said softly. Meanwhile, in a cheap Savannah motel, Gerald paced. His perfect grooming was gone, shirt wrinkled, hair wild. On the TV, Maya's voice narrated the rescue footage. She vanished not from weakness, but because she was dangerous. She knew too much. Her silence was enforced, her cage intentional. But her son finally listened. And the maid they dismissed pulled the first thread. Gerald hurled the remote. "Stupid boy," he snarled. "You have no idea." He opened a duffel. Cash bundles, burner phones, fake passport, then a knock. He froze. Another knock. He gripped the pistol tucked in his waistband. "Who is it?" he barked. "Federal agents. Open the door. Mr. Pierce, we have a warrant. Step back, hands visible." A beat of silence stretched. The gun lowered. Gerald walked to the door, opened it. 2 agents waited, faces unreadable, badges out. "Gerald Pierce," one recited. "You're under arrest for conspiracy, unlawful imprisonment, forgery, and obstruction." He said nothing as cuffs clicked. Cameras caught him leaving in shackles. The world watched the fall. He thought impossible. That evening, Logan and Naomi sat before the fireplace. Lila had gone to bed early, body still exhausted, spirit blazing. Logan watched flames lick the logs. "I used to think power meant control," he said, "locking everything down so nothing could hurt me." Naomi leaned her head on his shoulder. "And now?" she asked. "Now I know real power is telling the truth, even when it wrecks you," he answered. She smiled softly. "Sounds like a man I used to work for," she teased. He chuckled. "You still work with me," he corrected. Her eyebrow lifted. "Do I?" "Not as house staff," he said. "Beside me, as a partner." She studied his face. No arrogance, just vulnerability. "Okay," she said. "But first, that hideous garden statue goes into storage. It terrifies the neighbor kids." He laughed. "Deal." The next morning, a quiet op-ed appeared in the Atlanta paper under Lila's name. "They buried me in silence," she wrote. "But silence isn't death. It is exile. I'm back now and I'm speaking," she continued. "For anyone who feels invisible, you are not. Justice may crawl, but it moves with intention. And when it reaches you, it doesn't knock politely." The essay spread quickly, pinned, shared, discussed. Days later, the Pierce estate felt strangely peaceful. Helicopters gone, protest signs removed, the house finally exhaled. Inside, Lila sat again in the grand library she'd designed, touching spines of books she hadn't seen in years. Her fingers paused on a worn poetry volume. She opened to a folded page. "Still here," she whispered, recognizing the Langston Hughes line. Naomi entered with tea and toast. "Thought you might need refuge," Lila smiled. "After everything, chaos feels like jazz, messy but familiar." Naomi set down the tray. "PBS wants an interview. NPR too. You don't owe anyone your pain." Lila shook her head gently. "I'll do one," she said. "But I'm not a headline. I'm a woman who was forgotten." "They need to hear that, but not to pity me." Naomi squeezed her shoulder. "Then you set the terms." Elsewhere, Logan stood before newly reshaped board members of NovaBright Holdings. Gone were polished cronies. In their place stood seasoned professionals with real stakes. "The company can survive," one said, "but only with radical transparency." "That starts with you," another added. Logan nodded. "I'm stepping down as CEO voluntarily," he said. Murmurs rippled. "I'll stay as chair of our foundation. I want the Pierce legacy redefined through service. We'll cooperate fully with investigations, repair damage, and earn back trust, not demand it." A silver-haired director studied him. "Most men double down," she said. "You're doing the opposite." Logan gazed out the window. "I'm not burning anything," he replied quietly. "The truth already did that. I'm just refusing to rebuild the same structure." Later, Naomi drove to her childhood home on Atlanta's south side. The small house, with peeling paint and squeaky porch swing, felt simultaneously familiar and foreign. Her father, Henry, stood on the porch clutching a newspaper, eyes moist. "Read every word," he said when she approached. She stepped closer, nervous. "Dad, I didn't believe you," he cut in. "Didn't believe the job, the risk, any of it. You made me listen, even when I didn't want to." They hugged longer than ever before. "Still make a mean pot roast," he grinned. "Heard billionaires love comfort food now." Naomi laughed through tears. "Only if there's cornbread." "Always," he said. The following week, Lila sat under soft studio lights for her first major interview. No dramatic music, no sensational questions, just a calm journalist and a camera. "They told me my mind was broken," she said. "They insisted everything I remembered was wrong." Hear that long enough, and you start wondering if existing itself is a mistake. The room was silent. "Then a stranger believed me," she continued, glancing toward Naomi. "When someone sees you without needing proof, your voice remembers how to speak." Asked how she survived, Lila answered, "Faith," and a stubborn whisper inside saying, "Not like this, not yet." The segment ended with her reading from an old journal. "One day they'll forget their lies. I'll still remember my truth." The clip became the most replayed interview of the year. Meanwhile, charges stacked against Gerald. Falsified death documents, unlawful confinement, wire fraud, abuse of fiduciary duty. His mugshot circled endlessly. For a man once courted by global leaders, the fall felt downright biblical. Bail was denied. During his arraignment, he kept his mouth shut, but glared into the camera once, pure venom burning in his eyes. The narrative no longer belonged to him. Back at the estate, plans shifted toward community. Logan found Naomi on the balcony overlooking the grounds. "We've scheduled the first community banquet," he said. "Turning part of the estate into a fundraiser, scholarships, housing support, legal aid," she smiled. "Your mother? She loves the idea," he said. Handing her an envelope, he added, "This is for you." Inside, the deed to a modest home near the estate, in her name alone. "Your own space," he said. "No more guest house, no more borrowed rooms." Her eyes glistened. "You're not trying to buy absolution, right?" "No," he answered. "I'm honoring the woman who redefined loyalty for me." She studied him. "You're learning." "One day at a time," he replied. "One truth at a time," she said, bumping his shoulder. They stood under the soft sky past shadows behind them, a different future taking shape ahead. A small brick church in Marietta, framed by pecan trees, filled to overflowing. Neighbors, reporters, former staff, community leaders, even a few distant Pierce relatives, gathered to witness something once unimaginable, Lila testifying publicly, not in court but church. She stepped behind a simple pulpit, Sunday hat modest, black scarf across her shoulders. "I once believed silence kept me safe," she began. "But silence was just another prison cell." Murmurs stirred. "I was hidden, forgotten, yet alive," she continued. "I counted footsteps, memorized strangers' voices through walls. But the voice I missed most was my boy's, singing off-key just to make me laugh." She smiled toward the back where Logan stood beside Naomi. "When that music stopped, I knew something had broken." She straightened. "I'm not here to curse. I'm here to remind you, truth is a weapon." She gestured toward Naomi. "She came without badges or authority, only courage." Naomi lowered her head. "She saw me when nobody else bothered looking. That kind of sight can shift an entire world." Applause swelled. Afterward, an elderly veteran approached Naomi, cap tilted. "Told my granddaughter about you," he said. "Said bravery comes in every shade." She smiled. "She's lucky to have you." "No," he answered. "I'm lucky she's got women like you to watch." That night, Lila and Logan sat on the back porch, stars scattered above. "You know my greatest regret?" she asked. He shook his head. "Not fighting harder at first, trusting people just because they shared my name." "You survived," Logan replied. "That isn't weakness, that's warfare." She took his hand. "You remind me of your father, but softer, more awake." He stared into the yard. "Do you think he knew?" Lila considered. "If he did, he looked away," she said. The truth stung, but necessary. "I won't," Logan murmured. In a white-collar facility outside Richmond, Gerald sat across from a familiar face. Simon Voss. "You were sloppy," Voss said. "I was betrayed," Gerald snapped. "No," Voss replied. "You mistook fear for loyalty. Now those same people understand something stronger than fear." He stood. "I'm cooperating. So are they." "You helped me," Gerald hissed. "I followed orders," Voss answered. "Doesn't mean I'm burning beside you." Then he walked away, leaving Gerald truly alone. Back in Atlanta, the Pierce Foundation unveiled its new name. It became the Lila Pierce Center for Justice and Renewal. Donations streamed in. Scholarships for women of color in social work and investigative journalism. Grants for families battling abusive conservatorships. Community hubs across Georgia bore her name. Lila didn't chase spotlights. She tended gardens, read aloud at libraries, cooked gumbo on weekends. When Naomi visited, they often just sat on the porch breathing. Existence itself felt like a victory. One morning, Naomi received a handwritten note, no return address. "You were thunder in a silent storm," it read. "Thank you. Whoa." She folded it carefully. "Call me a maid," she murmured. "I know I moved mountains." A soft knock came at Naomi's door as she watered herbs outside her own little house. A courier handed her a thick envelope bearing a prestigious D.C. law firm's seal. "Signature required," he said. She signed, then opened it inside. Lawsuit Pierce Phi. Jones, filed by Gerald's niece, Cassandra Pierce, one of the last relatives clinging to the old power. Manipulation, defamation, malicious interference with family assets. Naomi's hands shook as she read. It wasn't just legal jargon, it was an attempt to paint her as the villain. Later, she found Logan and Lila in the garden, dirt under their nails. She handed Logan the envelope. Lila watched quietly. Logan's features hardened as he scanned it. "I'll handle this," he said. Naomi shook her head. "They aren't only attacking me. They're attacking what this represents." "They're terrified of losing control," Lila said. "Same story, new paper." Logan looked at Naomi. "Do you want to settle quietly or fight?" Naomi straightened. "We fight." That week, she held her own press conference. On the steps of the community library Lila helped fund, Naomi stood without a podium, surrounded by mothers, elders, students who'd followed her journey. "No one owns the truth," she said. "Not money, not lineage. I won't apologize for exposing what was hidden," she continued. "This lawsuit isn't justice. It's a scare tactic, but the world already saw what they did." Behind her, Lila and Logan stood like anchors. Within hours, Naomi's legal fund was fully crowdfunded by thousands, most donations small. Messages poured in. "You spoke for my mother. You gave me courage to leave my abusive boss. You reminded me I'm not crazy." Cassandra's lawyers scrambled. Public backlash was fierce. They offered mediation. Naomi declined. 3 weeks later, a judge dismissed the case as retaliatory and baseless. The courtroom erupted in applause. Outside, Naomi simply exhaled. "I never wanted to be a symbol," she told Logan. "I just wanted to do the right thing." "You did," he said. "Now they can't touch you without everyone watching." "So what now?" she asked. "We rebuild," he answered. "Not just the Pierce name, the whole story. With service. With you." She nodded. "On our terms." That night, Lila wrote in her journal, handwriting steadier than ever. Today, Naomi stood where no one expected her, against heritage, against fear, and did not bend, she wrote. "Legacy isn't mansions, it's what we leave inside other hearts. Her courage is stitched into this country now." Back in his study, Logan opened a box he'd avoided for years, his father's papers. Among speeches and photos was an envelope labeled, "For Logan if I'm gone." He opened it, breath caught. Inside, one line, "Trust your mother's voice over mine." Logan laughed through tears, the sentence both confession and blessing. At Spelman College, a small auditorium filled with students eager to hear Lila speak, Naomi sat front row, hands clasped. The host introduced Lila as a survivor whose story reshaped our understanding of power and silence. Applause thundered. Lila stood center stage, purple scarf draped like quiet royalty. "When I was taken," she said, "they insisted my memories were lies. If you hear that long enough, you start doubting your own heartbeat." She scanned the crowd. "Then someone believed me without proof. She didn't come with authority, just humanity. And suddenly, my voice remembered itself." Afterward, Lila answered students' questions. "How did you know who to trust?" one asked. "Watch how they treat people without status," Lila replied. "If they're kind when nobody's watching, that's a sign." Another girl asked, "What if people hurting you share your last name?" Lila met her eyes. "You can forgive when you're ready, but you never excuse. That is the difference between healing and pretending," she added. Naomi listened in the back, chest tight with pride. This wasn't about exposure anymore. It was about inheritance, the kind that couldn't be taxed or stolen. Soon after, the governor's office called. "We'd like to award your mother a civilian medal, the aide told Logan. He glanced out at Lila pruning roses. "She doesn't need medals," he said, "but people do need examples." At the ceremony, Lila accepted the medal with a brief speech. "No honor returns the years I lost," she said. "But if my story saves one life from being buried alive, it's enough." Applause shook the chamber. Later, she tucked the medal into a drawer beside her wedding ring and rarely mentioned it again. In his cell, Gerald watched the ceremony on a flickering TV, jaw clenched. He saw his mother standing tall, his nephew beside her, the crowd roaring. He clicked the set off and stared at the ceiling, sheet twisted in his hands until his knuckles blanched. A week later, Naomi found another letter in her mailbox, this time from Logan. "I don't expect or ask forgiveness," he wrote. "But without you, our truth would have rotted in a locked room. Thank you." That evening, a small dinner gathered at Lila's house, just family and closest allies. Over fried chicken and cornbread, they laughed, cried, replayed stories. "Think it's over?" Naomi asked quietly. "The headlines maybe," Logan said. "The work, never." Lila lifted her glass. "To the work," she declared. Glasses clinked. Under the soft Georgia moon, on land once infected with secrets, the Pierce family finally stood on something solid. Seasons turned. Winter loosened. Early spring breathed over Georgia. Daffodils and dogwoods bloomed. Tiny crocuses tested the air. Inside the estate, the old dining room became a living archive. Journals, photos, certificates from Lila's life before vanishing. At the center sat her rocking chair, draped with a quilt she'd stitched during her first year locked away. "Not a museum," she told Naomi. "A memory room. Not just mine, ours." Naomi pointed to an empty stretch of wall. "You know what belongs there?" she asked. "A mirror. To remind everyone. Silence isn't from lack of voice. It's from a world refusing to listen." Lila smiled. "That's exactly why you were meant to find me," she said. Meanwhile, Logan began what he called the long apology tour, visiting unions and communities his family once mistreated. In a Savannah steelworkers' hall, he spoke plainly. "I can't rewrite what my father did," he said, "but I can return what was taken. Pensions, protections, apologies." An elder crossed his arms. "Money doesn't fix trust." "No," Logan agreed, "but consistency might. I'll show up every month for the next 5 years," he promised. "Judge me by that." The elder nodded slowly. "We'll be watching, Logan, not Mr. Pierce." Back home, Naomi launched weekend workshops for teenage girls. She called it the Seeing Project. "This isn't about changing the world overnight," she told them. "It's about seeing clearly and choosing who you want to be, especially when it costs you." One Saturday, Lila joined as surprise guest. Asked if she'd been scared, Lila answered, "Constantly. But fear only delays the truth." Another girl asked how it felt to re-enter the world. "Like breathing deeper," Lila said. Later, under the old magnolia, Logan handed Naomi a small box. Inside, a simple necklace with an eye-shaped charm. "For seeing," he said, "others and yourself." She smiled. "I never wanted to fix the Pierces." "I know," he replied. "You just wanted to help one hurting woman. That changed everything." Their story shows justice often begins with one person truly seeing, one person refusing silence, and love learning to listen. Don't let anger drive the car. If you've lived 65 years or more, you've seen what anger can do, how it can turn a good man into a stranger in his own skin. That afternoon outside a Buckhead grocery store, the Atlanta heat sat on people's shoulders like wet wool. Logan Pierce, billionaire, boardroom fighter, never back down CEO, stepped out of his tinted SUV with his nerves raw and his pride on a short fuse. Then a frail black woman in patched blue layers touched his sleeve and asked for bread. One small request, one ordinary human need, but Logan heard it as pressure, as accusation, as inconvenience. His hand rose before his conscience could catch up, and then a young housekeeper in a faded gray uniform stepped into the line of fire and said the sentence that cut the air in half. "Stop! Don't you dare hit her! That's your mother!" You and I know a moment like that can change a life faster than any stock market crash. Logan didn't just ignore her, he lashed out. He slapped Naomi hard enough that phones came up like weapons. Folks muttered, "She's chasing a payout," the way crowds have always protected power by blaming the brave. But Naomi did not run. She pointed to the old woman's right wrist, a comma-shaped birthmark, same as Logan's. That tiny mark turned rage into horror. Logan's knees hit the blistering concrete. In that one public second, he learned what many of us learn later in life. Anger doesn't just hurt other people. It humiliates the person who carries it. And if Naomi hadn't stepped in, he would have crossed a line he could never uncross. Some of you have raised children, buried loved ones, survived wars of different kinds. You know this truth. When anger grabs the wheel, it doesn't care who's in the crosswalk. Courage often wears work shoes, not crowns. The world loves a hero in a suit. But in this story, the moral backbone belonged to the woman in a maid's uniform with a split lip and steady eyes. Naomi didn't have security guards. She didn't have money, lawyers, or influence. She had something rarer, the willingness to be disliked while doing the right thing. When Logan's mother, Lila, collapsed and doctors revealed signs of long-term captivity, Naomi stayed. She could have vanished after being hit, and no one would have blamed her. Instead, she kept showing up under harsh fluorescent lights, watching machines beep, watching Logan shake like a man who suddenly realized his wealth couldn't buy one more breath for his mother. Naomi's courage wasn't loud, it was practical. It looked like handing him water, telling him to calm down, forcing him to think instead of explode. And when the truth finally surfaced, an older janitor whispering that Logan's own uncle had Lila taken, Naomi did what strong elders taught us to do: separate justice from vengeance. She didn't say, "Burn him down." She said, "Uncover everything first, then seek justice." That's the difference between a blaze that destroys a house and a light that guides a community. Truth has to be backed up, with proof, with people, with persistence. Older Americans understand systems don't confess just because you ask nicely. Truth needs receipts. It needs witnesses. It needs time and grit. Logan and Naomi didn't just feel betrayal. They found it in old files, altered wills, trust documents, and bank transfers that moved like shadows right after Lila disappeared. They brought in a reporter who couldn't be bought, and they made sure evidence lived outside one man's control. Then came the second kidnapping. Lila discharged from the hospital by a fake doctor and wheeled away in broad daylight. That's when the lesson gets sharp. Evil doesn't always hide in dark alleys. Sometimes it wears scrubs and carries a clipboard. Logan tracked the transport. Naomi connected the dots, and they went after Lila with their eyes open, knowing it could be a trap. When armed guards blocked the corridor, Logan turned on a body cam and made a promise every older person recognizes as wisdom. We let the world watch. And that's what broke the power game. Public light, shared evidence, community attention. The fall didn't happen because Logan was rich. It happened because truth was documented, distributed, and defended, mile by mile, minute by minute, until the cage couldn't hold. Now I want to hear from you. If you were standing in that parking lot, would you have spoken up like Naomi, or would fear have kept you quiet? And if you've ever seen someone mistreated because they looked unimportant, what did you do in that moment? Share your story in the comments, because your experience might give courage to someone who's still afraid to speak. If this message meant something to you, please hit like, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and turn on notifications so we can keep talking about truth, justice, and the kind of courage that doesn't need a spotlight.